Hi guys, it's Debbie, and today I would like to speak about the Stanford Prison Experiment, a chilling 2015 film directed by Khalil Patrick Alvarez. The Stanford Prison Experiment is based on real-life events which took place back in the 70s at Stanford University. In 1971, a group of professors and researchers conducted a psychological experiment on a group of volunteers. The volunteers were interviewed, the researchers assessed their inclinations and evaluated their mental health, and the volunteers were paid to take part in this experiment. After the auditions, the initial group of men was split into two groups: prisoners and guards. A wing of the university was completely converted into a makeshift prison, complete with locked cells and a small common area for mealtime, and the prisoners were caged up in here for days, left to the hands of the guards. The general idea of the experiment was that of not even carrying out everything as if it were a scientific study, with the prisoners being able to step out at any moment, but just leaving the events to run on their own and the researchers simply observing from the outside. The film analyzes how each prisoner and guard reacted differently according to how the situation unfolded. For example, Ezra Miller portrays prisoner 8612, originally Daniel Culp, a talkative, bright young man who at first takes on the experiment in a very cheerful way, joking about the whole situation, but he soon becomes very upset with a progressively degrading state of mind. Other prisoners, on the contrary, for example, completely shut down to any emotion right from the start, avoiding any unnecessary interaction and complying to anything the guards would order. The guards were actually a very interesting aspect in this experiment because their evolution from your normal volunteer, your regular fellow commuter, your average everyday neighbor, to then being sadistic dictators was extremely rapid, escalating from normal orders to physical and psychological abuse, with no fear of a consequence, a punishment on behalf of the researchers. The most frightening character, in my opinion, was one of the lead guards portrayed by Michael Angarano. I believe his character was a person that had never felt in control in his life. He had never felt appreciated or considered enough, so he immediately loved the feeling of power, of being important. For how much I hated his character, I really liked Angarano's performance, as he really conveyed that hidden evil, the destructive potential of inhibited thoughts which are suddenly set free. In general, I think all the actors did an excellent job at portraying the different effects a situation like this has on different personalities and the various ways people adapt to struggles. I was pointing out before that these men were paid to take part in this experiment, and when asked, many of the men actually confirm that they are in the experiment only for the money, which for some of them was a very important sum. So it is also interesting to see how the prospect of an economic reward changes in a situation like this. The cast actually included a couple of pretty famous names. For example, Kia Gilchrist, which you might have recognized from Netflix's Atypical, is kind of a funny story with Zach Galifianakis, It Follows. Then Thomas Mann, again from It's Kind of a Funny Story, from Project X, Kong Skull Island. And then there were some other familiar faces and general good characterizations by all the actors, but in my personal opinion, the best performances came from Ezra Miller and Michael Angarano. I was not familiar with Angarano before seeing this film. I had probably seen him in other movies or TV series without really acknowledging him, but I really appreciated his role here. On the contrary, I've always liked Ezra Miller's characters, in particular for having a rich personality, both in a positive manner, such as in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, or in a very negative one, We Need to Talk About Kevin. He has a very distinctive way of acting and moving about, often playing on the use of facial expressions, tics, movements of the eyes, and his characters are always very interesting. Even in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where he had a very small role, our minds were already racing about his story, about his background, about his past. The Stanford Prison Experiment is similar to other films which analyze how people would react to certain situations, making us question what we would do. Some of them, in my personal opinion, are not worth the watch. the Belker experiment. Others, like The Wave, instead are a very clever and interesting analysis of the dangers of social experiments. This type of film may not be the one you would eagerly watch over and over again, and there are plenty of more engaging films about the human mind, about psychology, about an extreme human behavior. But the Stanford Prison Experiment is still an interesting analysis of the real limits of the human behavior, as soon as an individual is familiar and comfortable with the feeling of power over others. Let me know if you saw the Stanford Prison Experiment with a comment here below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to subscribe for more movie related material and much more. See you soon in a new video. Bye!